It's time now to take a spin with Headline Roulette. These are the week's most compelling, random, and interesting headlines. We look high and low to bring the top minds to decipher the trees from the forest. Today's headline dealer is editor-in-chief of the Post-Millennial and Human Events, Libby Emmons. Libby, are you ready?
I'm all set, Chanel.
All right, let's roll. Headline number one, Tim Walz claims Kamala Harris picked him as a running mate because he could code talk to white guys. Oh, Libby, cue the cringe symphony. Hold on, listen to this soundbite.
Improve people's lives. But I also was on the ticket, quite honestly, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this. And you look across those swing states, with the exception of Minnesota, we didn't get enough of those votes.
Oh my gosh, Libby, I am cringing doubly. So he's saying this to a group of Harvard kids. And of all things, this is the vehicle. He's the guy who can code talk to dudes.
Yeah, I guess the guy who makes tuna and mayonnaise tacos is the guy who can talk to white guys, because all white people know that tuna and mayonnaise tacos are delicious. Yeah, nobody understood this when he said this. So Tim Walz came out. He said that this was why he was brought on the ticket. We all knew he was brought on the ticket because he was a white guy, and Kamala Harris and Democrats are so obsessed with racism that they think everyone is racist and no one would ever vote for a black woman for president. This black woman has no qualifications to be president. They didn't really care about that. So yeah, Tim Walz, code talker to white men, that no white men understand what he means by that. I actually saw
It's
Scott
so
Jennings
sad.
talking about how anyone who comes out with the jazz hand is not the white man code talker.
And he is so right. There's so much going on here. It's almost like Tim Walz is this walking headline of you don't know where this headline is going. One of those guys. And it's so cringe because they just don't, there's no self-awareness. And we talk about this all the time, the lack of self-awareness with the left, which is ironic considering they are the group that tend to dominate the artistic scene. They tend to dominate the arts and the music and the pop culture. So you'd think they'd be pretty good at this, but I guess on the political side, they're just not, or they're not listening to their advisors.
They're not listening. And when you look at the arts, what's the key thing that an artist does? They emote, they bring forth from their self, they write about what they know. And so that's what the left is doing. They are not looking to their audience to figure out what it is that's going on with the audience. They are looking inside themselves. I mean, a great example is how the boomers right now are really opposed to Trump. Recent polling showed that they're the only age group that really has a negative point rating for Trump. And these are people who are still traveling around the world trying to find themselves in their 70s and 80s. So I think we know that the Democrats do not know how to listen to people. They don't know how to listen to their audience. And we also saw Kamala Harris last night, who of course brought Tim Walz onto the 2024 Democrat ticket. And she was out there talking about how Democrats need to circle up like elephants do in an earthquake and just hang tight and protect the vulnerable. Unfortunately, they forgot that Tim Walz is perhaps one of the vulnerable, and they forgot to protect him from himself because he's emoting, because he's speaking from the heart.
So many good points. So many good points, so many good layers. Headline number two, no, Meta, we don't want your chatbot talking sex with our kids. I agree. Why are we even having this conversation? I guess there's a new development in Meta here.
Yes. So Meta has Mark Zuckerberg. They've been pushing AI, as has every tech platform and every tech company. They're really trying to win this AI race. And one of the things that is being pushed are chatbots that can talk to you as though they are real people. If you've scrolled Instagram, perhaps you've seen advertisements, for like AI chat boyfriend or AI chat girlfriend. We've seen this. It's come up in media a fair bit. And the Wall Street Journal did a deep dive with one of these chatbots to see how far they could get it to go. The chatbots also, per Meta, have contracted with Hollywood celebrities like Kristen Bell and John Cena. and some others to voice the chatbots. And the Wall Street Journal actually got John Cena to talk about to talk as though he were having an illicit relationship with a 17-year-old fan. Very disturbing. And Meta came out and said, this absolutely is not what we're doing. Denial, denial, denial. And then said that they would try and bring in some safeguards. So we're not doing it, and we will stop doing it, was Meta's essential reaction. But this is something that is going to be coming down the pike. We're going to have kids, teens, adults being able to establish romantic seeming relationships with what Meta is calling synthetic personalities. And if that sounds very Battlestar Galactica, very Brave New World, that's because it is. And this is something that human beings should guard themselves against, having real relationships with fake entities that are designed to sell you things.
I say this all the time, and I feel like you'll resonate with this, but I think our generation and the generations before us will be the last generation that will remember what it's like to have a real relationship with real people and what it was like to grow up without any of this technology. And while I love the technology and I love what it's capable of, the ethical dilemmas that it is raising on a daily basis is not going to be solved by the kids who are raised on it. It'll be solved by us. And I think we're going to have to be a little more proactive about trying to solve these ethical dilemmas. Maybe not in laws, but just in culture.
Yeah, I think it is a cultural thing. I think this is the kind of thing where we have to tell our kids, AI chatbots are not your friends. They are there to harvest your data and sell you things and steal your money. That's the entire point of these things. Otherwise, massive tech companies wouldn't be creating them.
Well, I think this leads us well into the next headline. Headline number 3, speaking of kids who are unguided or perhaps badly guided, Robert De Niro's 29-year-old child comes out as trans, inspired by The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid? What?
Yeah. So Aaron De Niro, who used to be Aaron and is now Airyn, so same name, just a different spelling, has come out as trans at 29 years old. He came out as gay in high school, and in the interview with Them magazine, it was very clear. They said that he came out as a gay man in high school as opposed to coming out as a gay woman or a gay them or something in high school. Anyways, after coming out as trans, after starting estrogen, Aaron De Niro was inspired by The Little Mermaid to get his hair in long pink locks, which Them magazine said were as light and lovely as butterfly wings. This is another Hollywood kid who has come out as trans, joining so many others. J-Lo, Sigourney Weaver, I think. There are so many of these kids in Hollywood. And one wonders what it is that celebrities are doing to their kids to make them decide that they are not really themselves, but they are something else. It was interesting. In the interview, Aaron was talking about how as a kid, and also he was conceived via surrogate, has a twin brother. The twin brother is not trans, which is interesting because a lot of times, twins are the same, but I don't know if they're paternal twins or whatever. But anyways, I digress.
Libby, do not even try logic on this one.
Don't get there. But he was talking about how as a kid and as a teen, he did not hear that he was just right the way he was. And that was part of what led him, I guess, to decide to really be himself, but in fact, determined that he was not right just the way he was. And he also wanted to use transition to become closer to Black women. So there's your logic.
There it is. I don't know that there's anything more to add to that. I think that the problem that we're noticing is the Hollywood disconnect from the rest of society is becoming even deeper of a chasm, because you see these celebrities, as you listed them out, and there's so many more, who have this disproportionate number of, quote, trans kids. And especially for the younger ones, you wonder, to what extent is it indoctrination on their part? Are they using these children as badges of woke honor? Like, what are they doing to these kids beyond just indoctrinating? is it more to serve them? And if that's the question,
Yeah.
I don't know if we want the answer.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that. Cynthia Nixon was recently out at a protest in New York City talking about, the what she called like the Trump administration war on trans, which is really just advocating for women's rights, which leftists used to be good at doing. Cynthia Nixon was out there talking about how her
Right.
child is trans and how many trans children are in her life. And you start to wonder, Miss Nixon, how did this happen? Why do so many kids grow up to just decide, and not even really question that they are who they are, that they are their own biological sex, that there's nothing wrong with that? Yet all of these Hollywood kids really jump into this notion that they are the opposite sex. I think part of it is probably that their parents don't say things like no. They probably say things like, if you want to wear a dress, that's great. If you want to be a boy, you can be a boy. And they don't enforce any kind of boundaries. Perhaps that has something to do with it. There is an artistic mentality in let your kids run around and do whatever they want. And we forget that boundaries are what guide kids into adulthood. We forget that coloring within the lines is what teaches you how to enjoy coloring outside the lines, if that's what you want to do. But there's no coloring outside the lines if you don't know where the lines are. And there's no growing up to be a person who's just comfortable with themselves and, being part of society if you don't know who you were in the first place. We also see people raising their kids and not telling even the child what gender they are. That makes no sense. Kids need boundaries. They need
So sad.
expectations. Yeah.
All profound points to a very tragic and comical topic. And I guess that's appropriate for Hollywood. Comedy and tragedy all mixed in one.
It makes
Lizzie
sense.
Emmons, a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Chanel.
That's all the time we have for the show. Remember to download the OAN Live app on your TV and your favorite streaming devices. You can also catch any Fine Point episodes you may have missed right there in the app with our video on demand feature. Spread the word. I leave you with this. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Good night, Godspeed. Until tomorrow.